Today we're talking about an important topic, and that is communicating your professional value. I have a mentor that says your job is to create value for the people in your life, whether they're friends, family members, or in this case, professionally, your boss. And the challenge isn't just creating your value, it's ensuring that your value is recognized and properly compensated. And to understand this topic, we have to rely on economics. In neoclassical economics, there's this theory that your wage is equal to your marginal product. What that means, compensation is directly connected to the value that you bring to your organization. So if you believe this, then that means your wages are determined by how well you add value to your organization. And sometimes we've all been actually in this situation where your wage does not reflect your true value that you bring to the firm. So if that's the case, if you believe that your wages do not reflect your true value, then there might be three things in play over here. One, maybe you need a reality check, right? Maybe you're overestimating your value. I know that sounds harsh, but that happens often where we believe that we are contributing to our employer and to society, but society does not see it that way. The second possibility is there might be misaligned priorities. There might be things that you value, but your employer does not value. So, and I'll talk about how to adjust for this, but that happens often, especially as you grow in your position. You might start to value things that your employer does not. And then the third thing, and the reason that I wrote this newsletter and we're having this video today, is the visibility problem. Your value isn't clear to decision makers. That means you are doing the work, they value it, they just don't know you're doing it. And that happens so often in corporate life and also in college. So let's talk about how do you make yourself more visible to your employer. One, and I'm a huge fan of this, any mentee of mine will tell you this, the power of self-reflection. Set aside some time on a weekly basis that you document your accomplishments for the week, for the month. Sometimes some of the work that you're doing won't be visible for a semester or 6 months in advance later on. So make sure to also reflect more holistically. But you have to know, you have to be able to document the things that you add and how you have grown. Then you're going to identify contributions. Here, list all the challenges that you have overcame and the value you created when you overcame those challenges. And measure your contributions whenever possible. You have to quantify your impact and speak the language of your employer or the people evaluating you. I believe that every individual needs to have their own marketing strategy. My YouTube channel, my newsletter, my Instagram, these are all examples of me documenting my journey, my contribution. So develop your own personal marketing strategy. Find ways to regularly communicate, show wins consistently with stakeholders. Don't assume that anybody notices you. This is one of the biggest issues that I see with people at work. They assume that their work is visible to everybody. No, everybody's busy. Everybody's got their head down. They're grinding. You need to be able to communicate what your contribution is. From time to time, connect to priorities. Sit down and figure out what you're doing and how that connects to overall strategies of the firm. Every firm has some strategic planning, some priorities, some core values, some objectives. You need to be able to tie what you're doing to those overall objectives. And then finally, as I said, you have to quantify the results. Numbers speak, but stories as well tell or share how impactful you are. So if you can't quantify it with a number, quantify it with a story and anecdote, if you may. So you need to understand your goals. You need to align your contributions. You need to communicate the alignment, and then often reassess how your work fits into the organizational priorities. So when it comes to value, there is actual value and then there's perceived value. And a lot of us have actual value, the work output, the problem solving, the innovation that we contribute to society. But that's not enough. You could be doing all of this, but the world does not perceive what you're doing as valuable because they might not know it's happening. So you need to increase visibility. You need to also communicate to your stakeholders, to the people employing you, why your work is valuable. And you do that by aligning it strategically with their priorities. So start sharing your story. It's really important. LinkedIn is a great place for you to do this. Connect with professional networks and showcase your career achievements, and make sure that you're harnessing or working on how you tell your story. Instagram is another place. I do this and I speak on LinkedIn and Instagram in very different ways. Sometimes I'll share the same content, but my captions will be different. But most of the time my posts are very different on LinkedIn than they are on Instagram. And they're definitely different than how I communicate in person, because you need to be able to speak to different stakeholders in different ways. And the more stakeholders that you can engage in your story, the better. So this is the importance of communicating your value. Your wage is correlated, maybe not one-to-one, but correlated with the perceived value that you provide to society. So make sure that society is clear on what you contribute. And I know that sounds like a lot of pressure, and some people don't like that. But that's a trade-off that you are going to have to undertake. If you don't believe in communicating your story, it might impact your wage, your perceived value in society. So that's how I tie economics to your personal professional development. I would love to hear your thoughts about what you heard here. And this is part of a series that I am developing to help communicate professional development tips for young professionals and soon-to-be graduates. These are things that I wish I'd have known when I was in my 20s, and I hope that you know them now and would love to hear from you. So leave a comment. What did you learn today?